Okay, so today I want to do a video about New Year's Eve. So obviously New Year's Eve has come and went. So this is really more to talk about how I spent New Year's Eve and how it was totally ridiculous. I want to talk about my New Year's Eve in Seattle, Washington. So you can consider this a little bit of a story time video, but also if any of you out there have ever been interested in starting a YouTube channel and doing live streams, stick around to the end of this video because I'm going to talk about sort of my YouTube fail when it came to live streaming on New Year's Eve. So first of all, let's talk about New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve has always been, a time that people go out and they celebrate and have fun. I think most of the time when I was young, it was always fun to go out for New Year's Eve. I know I've spent New Year's Eve in Las Vegas. That was a lot of fun, where they completely shut down the streets and everyone's hanging out and having a good time. Las Vegas was a lot of fun. I've also spent New Year's Eve on a Greyhound bus. That was not fun, especially for like the passing of midnight when you're stuck on a Greyhound bus. Also, my friend that was going to be picking me up from the Greyhound station basically had to spend their New Year's Eve sitting at a Greyhound station waiting for my bus to come in. I'm sure that was not very much fun. I could probably do a whole video just about riding the Greyhound bus. And, in general, riding a Greyhound bus is probably your cheapest way for transportation, cheaper than flying on an airplane, cheaper than taking a train. And that also means they pretty much let anyone get on that bus, whether these people haven't showered in weeks. These people are crammed on that bus, sitting right next to you. I've had people expose themselves to me on the bus. Greyhound bus is not exactly a good experience. Like I said, maybe I should do a whole video about what it's like riding a Greyhound bus, but I will never do that again. Okay, so let's talk about some other New Year's Eves. So for instance, I've lived in Seattle now almost 10 years, and I've really never had the whole Seattle spending downtown watching the fireworks at the Space Needle experience that most people think of when they think of Seattle on New Year's Eve. And in fact, I'll get into it, but there's a couple times that I did go downtown to where the Space Needle is and the fireworks got canceled. So basically, everyone's all excited for these New Year's Eve fireworks, and then it ends up getting canceled. So let's start with the first year that I actually lived in Seattle. I was dating someone. This is where we're going to get into the story time, so strap in. I was dating someone, so of course, when it's New Year's Eve, you think you're going to spend your New Year's Eve with the person you're dating, right? Everyone talks about that whole New Year's Eve kiss and whatnot. So I was all excited to spend New Year's Eve with this person that I was dating. It was our first year dating, so this would have been our first New Year's Eve spent together. And then as it got closer and closer to New Year's Eve, he tells me he's going to spend New Year's Eve with his cousin, which is weird. Okay. I mean, I guess some people spend New Year's Eve with their family instead of going out with friends. Also, I thought if you're going to spend New Year's Eve with your family and you're having like a family get together, wouldn't you also bring your significant other, which would be me? But he said no, he just wanted to spend New Year's Eve with his cousin. And, prior to this, I remember he had even showed me like a photo on his phone of his cousin. And he had asked me, like, what do I think of her? Do you think she's pretty? And I thought that's kind of a weird question to be asking, but I guess she's all right looking. She's her cousin. I didn't really think anything of it. But anyways, as you can probably guess where this story is going, it was shortly after New Year's Eve that I found out that that was not his cousin. That was actually some other girl that he was dating. So much for that. That's why he didn't want to spend New Year's Eve with me, because he had a new girlfriend that he was calling his cousin, which I guess is why anytime he had photos of this other girl on his phone, he could always use that cousin excuse. And it was actually some girl he was dating. So, that's the way it goes. Okay, so then my New Year's Eves after that, I kind of was like not really interested in celebrating New Year's Eve. Sometimes people just prefer to like keep it low key, stay out of trouble, because they got a lot of like drunk drivers on the road and you just want to, stay out of that mess. Luckily nowadays, well, I could say nowadays, if you've been drinking, you can take an Uber, but New Year's Eve, it's like actually really hard to get like a taxi cab or an Uber or whatever. Plus they really like hike up the rates. So that's another reason why people probably just choose to skip the whole thing altogether and just, stay home or whatever. So I will say there was another time that I happened to be dating someone at the same time that it was New Year's Eve during the time that I was living up here in the Pacific Northwest. But actually, during that time, I was staying down in Portland, Oregon. I wasn't up here in Seattle. And so I did spend a New Year's Eve in Portland. But that relationship, we're no longer together. But that was just a one time thing where basically I went and spent New Year's Eve in Portland. Kind of forgot about that till just now that I'm making this video, because obviously that didn't stand out in my mind too well. Okay, so let's talk about the fact that I used to work at a job that was at the Seattle Center. Seattle Center is where the Space Needle is. Space Needle is where they shoot off all the fireworks. And I had worked there. So basically, I was there for like 2 years in a row. That's where my job was at. But what's weird, or what I did not like, is this job would always make you work on New Year's Eve. Now, this was not a job that's actually open at night, but what they would do is they would actually make you come and be there on New Year's Eve so you could watch the fireworks, because the building had like a perfect view of the Space Needle and the fireworks. So they considered it like a job benefit to get to spend New Year's Eve at work when I would rather spend New Year's Eve with friends and, hanging out. Instead, I was like forced to come to work, and yeah, I was getting paid for it, but I was basically like, I had to come to work just to watch the fireworks, which, like I said, they considered that a job benefit. I really could care less about that. And it seems like, okay, if you're going to go somewhere for New Year's Eve, you should be able to like bring a date or something, bring a friend, because that's kind of, I thought, the whole point of enjoying these job benefits of watching the fireworks. But no, you weren't allowed to like bring anyone. You had to actually just show up to work, be, there to sit and watch the fireworks. And they acted like it was this really great fun thing. And I was not really interested in participating, but it was like required to be there. And so, as I recall, the very first year, I believe it was 2019, that I got there. I'm there late at night. It's almost midnight. And then they tell us that they've canceled the fireworks. I guess there was high winds or something, so that it would not be safe to be shooting off the fireworks, because I guess that could carry the flames, off course or something and start a fire somewhere. So they canceled the fireworks. But then I think they also said that they weren't actually canceling the fireworks. They were going to postpone the fireworks, that if the wind died down, they would actually do the fireworks show, because obviously they were all set up and ready to do the fireworks show. So then that meant we were like sitting there waiting. So instead of me actually being allowed to go home, I had to sit there at work that was being forced to be there. And I was there till probably like 2 a.m, because they kept saying, oh, just wait it out. They're going to do the fireworks. Just wait it out. And it was like 2 a.m. They never shut the fireworks off. They finally let us go home. And so then I was just like, that was stupid, right? I was like not happy about it. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it was the following year that they ended up canceling the fireworks again. And it was like the same deal where I was like, I don't want to, like, this is like so annoying. I don't want to have to go to work. Like like I said, like the whole point of New Year's Eve is I thought was getting to like enjoy yourself, but no. Instead, I was expected to be at work and watch the fireworks. And it seemed like, like I said, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was the following year the fireworks got canceled again. And it was this whole big thing where basically I wasted a whole night that I could have like been out with friends and having fun, but no. So let's talk about this year's fireworks, because this year's fireworks, actually the show did go off. There were fireworks, but Seattle experienced really extreme fog, and because of the really thick extreme fog, you could not see any of the fireworks at all. Well, you could sort of, but you couldn't see the Space Needle, which is where the fireworks are being shot off from. So what I'm going to do is kind of just insert some images here of kind of like to give you an idea of what the fireworks show should have looked like, had it been a clear night. And then I'm going to insert a video showing you what it actually did look like with all the fog and everything, because you're going to see a complete difference between what it's like getting to see the amazing fireworks show, the one I had never seen before and have never been to in person, to when the one time I did go there, I got to this. But before we even get to the fact that I went to see the fireworks at the Space Needle in Seattle this year, I want to talk about prior to me even getting to where the Space Needle is. Okay, so let's talk about the fact that what Seattle is like the downtown area. If you're expecting to just drive your car on down to the Seattle Center where the Space Needle is, don't expect to find any parking anywhere. And in fact, if you do find a parking garage, you're probably going to be paying like a lot of money just to park there if there is any parking space available. You can see like maybe people charging like $100 just to park in a parking garage. It's ridiculous. So the city of Seattle has it set up where all the buses are free, so you can ride a bus to uh, where the Space Needle is at. You could also take the light rail, although the light rail doesn't actually go straight to where the Space Needle is. But if you were like farther out from the city, you could take the light rail into the city. So there's a lot of different options, and it's all free. And this is what they advertise. They advertise that everything's going to be running. It's going to be running to 3 a.m. in the morning to make sure everyone gets home safe. Obviously, they don't want people drinking and driving. But the real issue is that there's not really anywhere to like park your car if you were going to drive down there. So I knew that I was going to have to park my car kind of far away and then take some sort of public transit into town. Yeah, I could have done an Uber, but a lot of times, it's really difficult to do that on New Year's Eve, and they really hike up the prices. So I was all about taking the light rail and getting myself to the downtown area in some form or fashion. Well, like I said, they'd been advertising that the light rail is going to be running. It's going to be free. I went to the light rail station, and they had like the gate was shut, like the whole light rail was closed. And I was thinking, well, this is a ripoff because they said that the light rail was going to be free. And so then I was like, okay, well, maybe it's just this station is closed. Maybe I just need to drive to like another light rail station and park there. So I did that. But like I said, I think everybody else is doing the same exact thing. So all the parking lot spaces were taken. So I'm like, well, where am I even supposed to park? Because I felt like I need somewhere to actually park my car, even if that means now I have to walk to where the light rail station is and then finally get on the light rail. So what ended up happening is I ended up having to park in a paid parking lot. It ended up, at the end of the night, I'll explain, it ended up costing me $37 to park. But, and that's a whole story. But basically, it's kind of like you're sitting there thinking, well, what's the point of free transit? Like, yeah, the light rail's free, but you had to pay $37 just to park your car to ride the light rail. So anyways, so I get on the light rail, and of course it's crammed, it's packed like bodies like sardines, and so there was nowhere to sit. I had to stand, and it's about like from where I got on to get to the downtown area was like about, I'd say, at least 45-minute ride. So I'm standing body to body with all these people like for 45 minutes, can't move, can't sit down. I started to like drip sweat because it was just like a lot of, I don't know, a lot of moisture in the air build up. Okay. So then finally I get to my stop. Now, like I explained, the light rail does not go all the way to where the Space Needle is. So I got off, and that meant I was going to have to like walk the rest of the way. Or perhaps there could have been a bus that I could have taken the rest of the way. But I got off and I started walking. And there's like hundreds of other people on the streets. They're also walking. So it's not like I was in any sort of unsafe environment. But as I started getting closer and closer to the Space Needle, these hundreds and hundreds of people that were taking up the whole sidewalk and everything now became like 1,000 people. It was like there's like a huge crowd formed. They had shut down all the streets, so people were like filling up the streets and everything. And I'm getting closer and closer, and you still couldn't even see the Space Needle because it was foggy. You couldn't even see anything up in the sky. And so it's almost like it wasn't until I was right up under the Space Needle that I could see like a glimpse of some lights flashing, but that was about it. But then it was like I'm also like in this crowd of like thousands of people. I don't think I'm exaggerating if I say thousands of people. I mean, there was at least 1,000 and more than that. But then there's like, I don't know, sometimes if any of you like you start to have these feelings go through your head of like, wow, this could get out of hand real easy. I don't like being in a big crowd like this. If people start pushing, or if there's a stampede, or you always hear about bad things happening in large crowds. So on the news. So I was like, maybe I should like step away from this crowd. I can go and find like another space that's a little bit farther out from the crowd, but yet I can still see where the Space Needle is, because I wanted a good vantage point to be able to see what's going on. And so I did step away a little bit from the crowd. The fireworks began. So yeah, I can insert some footage here of what it actually looked like, because as you can see or not see, there is no Space Needle visible, but those are the fireworks. And of course, once the fireworks were over, that meant I had to get back to my car. I had to get back to the light rail and find a way to fight my way through the crowd and everything. I guess I was under the impression they had said like the buses were going to be running till like 3 in the morning, but apparently like the bus route that was right there was not running, either because they had shut down the streets or whatever. So I was like, well, I guess now I have to like walk on foot, which I'd already walked on foot there, so it shouldn't be a problem to keep walk on foot back. But I did I walked back to get on the light rail, and I'll insert some footage here of packed and crowded the light rail was. So the chances of getting on the light rail was probably going to be slim because the light rail can only hold so many people, and there was people crowded everywhere. So I was lucky enough that I got on the light rail. I rode it back to my car, and then that meant once I got to my car, I had to leave the paid parking lot I was in to pay for the parking. They charge by the hour. So I go, and it's like one of those machines, like when you go to leave, you scan your ticket at the machine, you pay with a credit card. Well, my card was declined. I don't know why. I have money in my bank account. So I was like, okay, something might be wrong. Let me try it again. It was declined again. So then I'm like, okay, well, I think I have like a backup card, one that I don't really ever use, but I know there's money on it. So I went to use that thing, and it was declined as well. So I was like, now what? Then I tried to do like tap to pay with my iPhone, even though that's linked to my card that had gotten declined. You know, I'm like trying to like check my bank balance like on my phone, trying to figure out what the heck's going on here. Why are they declining my card? I don't know what the deal was. Okay. So then I had to like reverse, like back out of the where the machine is to get out of the parking lot. There's like a line of cars, basically other people trying to get out. So I'm the one who's like holding up the line. So then I was like, well, what am I supposed to do? Now I have to go like find an ATM in the middle of the night so I can like pay to just get my car out of here. It was like the most frustrating situation. Okay, so this is why I felt like, at this point in time, it's like 2:30, 3 in the morning. Like, I'm just like, I just want to be done with New Year's. New Year's did not go the way I had hoped and planned. And like I said, we haven't even gotten to the fact that I had tried going live and doing a YouTube video because I wanted to show people kind of like what it looks like in downtown Seattle, show them the fireworks, show like all the people on the street. There were people selling food on the street. There were street performers, like a band playing. There was all this cool stuff that I filmed, or I wanted to film, and I'll get to that in just a moment. But let me just say that after it was like, the next day, I went to check my bank balance, and I noticed that my credit card had been charged 3 times, even though when I was at that machine, it said my card was declined. And so it's like, so all these charges went onto my account somehow, whether, right now they're pending. So I don't know if they're going to eventually go away or if I have to dispute them with my bank. But it's kind of like, so when I was at the machine, it kept telling my card was declined. Yet if you look at my bank account, it went through all those times. So I'm like so like beyond frustrated, as you can imagine. So now let's get to what it's like to live stream from your phone. I've done live streams before. This is why I said stay tuned if you are interested in being a YouTuber and live streaming, because I'm just going to do this little story time part here. So I was going to live stream on my phone. And, when you do live stream on your phone, there's buttons you push. You say you want to go live. You can put it in the description. Once you go live, like it does, like you can take a photo for your thumbnail. There's a little countdown where it's like 3, 2, 1, you're live. Then it has like a little counter up in the top that tells you how many people are viewing you, like how many people are live viewers. There's like a scrolling thing at the bottom that shows you any comments that have come in. And one thing that is weird about doing live stream, especially if you haven't done them, like this is your first few times doing them, sometimes your video doesn't post right away. It'll go to private after you finish the video, and you have to actually make it public. But it takes sometimes like 24 hours for the video to actually process and be posted to the feed where other people can get to see the video. So that's the whole thing. So I do my video. I go live. Okay. I do like 3, 2, 1, take my, I took my photo. I did all that stuff. Right. And I'm live and I'm filming and I'm walking around. And I've always said this before, that I do not feel comfortable having my phone out when I'm in downtown Seattle, especially when there's all those people around, because I felt like at any given moment someone could just come along and snatch my phone or my camera right out of my hand. But it was weird because it was New Year's Eve and there were families out and children and everything, and I actually felt safe. I had my selfie stick out. I had my camera on a selfie stick. I'm filming everything. Nobody gave me any problems or grief because there's other people out with their cameras and they're wanting to film their families and the Space Needle and all this stuff. So I'm out there and I'm filming all this stuff and I'm having a good old time, right? So I was happy. Things are going good. And, I'm like, oh, I'm getting some good footage for YouTube, right? Because everyone's going to get to see how great it is here in Seattle. They're going to see how safe it is. there were all these police officers. I filmed all the police to just show, like, look, there's all these police here keeping the place safe. No one's causing any trouble. This is a good thing, right? So I was so happy. I was so happy with the footage. Now, another thing about with YouTube, when you're finished and you want to end the live stream, you click a button and it'll even say, like, are you sure you want to exit, or are you sure you want to end the live stream? And then I clicked okay. And then it's like, then you have to, I guess, wait for it to do some processing or whatever. It takes a while to upload. And I wanted to make sure that it was posted as public, because since it kind of automatically goes to private, you have to change it to public. I was all excited. And when I say excited, I mean, I was just happy with the footage I had got because I thought it was good footage, right? It's something great to show on YouTube to my followers or to anyone who's new, who's never watched me before. And also to just kind of give people an idea of what Seattle's like. Seattle's a really great place. So, like I said, then later, when it was like the next day, when it's like 3 a.m. and, I'm like, after I like get some rest and everything, it's the next day and I look and my video is not there. It's like gone. It's like it never saved to YouTube. It's like there's no footage of it anywhere. It's like it never existed. Yet when I did the live stream, I mean, it did all the things. I pressed all the buttons. It said, it showed I was live. It even asked me, are you sure you want to end this live? Even later when I switched it from private to public, and then it's like, well, what the heck? And I even tried to like use the send feedback feature of YouTube to like ask, like, what happened to my video? Where'd it go? Like, how come it was there one day and now it's gone? And then I thought maybe I just have to wait a while because maybe it needs time to process to finally like upload to YouTube. And I feel like I've waited like a whole day or so now. It's gone. All that footage, all the stuff that I said I filmed fireworks, I filmed the street performers, I filmed everyone having a good time. It's gone. It's like it never happened. And when people say like pics or it didn't happen, like they don't believe you, well, now I just feel like totally ripped off, like it never happened. And I'm really bummed out about that because I really wanted like people to like see what a great time it is in Seattle. And so this is why I said like this is really like information for anyone who's ever interested in like doing YouTube, because I guess this could happen to you. I don't know what happened. Like, honestly, I really don't know. I was hoping to hear a response back from YouTube, but I certainly have not. But that's kind of where things have ended out for me. So, like I said, thank you for watching. Thanks for sitting through this story time. It seems like, I don't know, maybe some of these story times I'm telling is always me talking about how nothing seems to go right for me. But I hope you enjoyed this video. As they say, like and subscribe, share with your friends, get the word out. I am looking forward to a really great 2026, even though the end of my 2025 didn't go as planned.